One of the most important parts of marketing and really connecting with your audience is being able to take the blame away, all that self-blame that they might have for their problems, and putting it elsewhere. Really finding that common enemy or that scapegoat that we can place a lot of that blame on to really free up your audience to start looking for solutions and start taking action. Because when they're sitting in self-blame about all their problems, it generally leads to paralysis. We want to find in the outside world, where can we think about those problems, and where can we start placing the blame? It's kind of a classic human condition of survival of trying to point the finger at something else. So in our marketing, we're trying to get in alignment with our audience, and really researching that is a big part of my process as a copywriter, to really find out who are those outside forces that we can point the finger at and really align with our audience in their thinking, so that we can place our solution in the best possible light and get them moving towards that. So what I want to do is just in some recent projects that I've done, really for the same audience. So I've really focused on kind of that mom's audience, and really showing you in kind of different aspects, 3 different products, 3 different solutions, how this outside forces, how this common enemy came to be, and what it looks like from various different angles. Again, I'm not trying to target moms at all or anything like that, but it's just kind of coincidence as I work with more and more companies and products that are focused on that mom audience, which is a really big one. It comes through, and doing a lot of research on that. So I just wanted to show you 3 separate examples of what this looks like. The first one is an online education company, really focused on children, obviously going through the situation of the pandemic, where a lot of them they're at home, they're doing the virtual learning, remote learning, and there's a lot of problems with that. So they have kids that are falling behind. So in looking at their kids that are falling behind, obviously, there can be a lot of self-blame towards that, especially for moms that are trying to coach their kids along in this virtual learning environment. They have a lot of other things that are going on. So in my research, I took a look at, okay, what are those other areas where I could point the blame to, and where are moms kind of thinking about that, as well as some of their kids do fall behind in kind of this difficult environment. So just want to show you, this is my actual research doc. So just want to show you the actual words. So what I do is go into forums, I go into Facebook groups, really wherever moms hang out, and I get a sense for what is the language they're using in going through and talking about their problems with their kid falling behind. So to give you a few kind of snippets right here, you can see one of the key ones that I found is really just kind of blaming the school. So the teachers, the school, the curriculum, all those different things are going against their child and not making it easy for them to catch up. So that was the common theme that really came through as well. One of the other things that came through is kind of thinking about their kid. One of the things is maybe my kid is not conditioned to being in this learning environment, so he gets easily distracted. For a lot of moms, they think about maybe my kid has a learning disability just because they don't have that ability to kind of sit in a chair for a long period of time or sit in front of a computer for a long period of time as well. So that was another thing that came through. So, thinking about kind of an outside force of maybe a learning disability that pushes them there. But I also saw as well, in terms of the school not challenging their kids long enough, their kid being really bored. So that was another thing, even for those that maybe those kids were a little bit further ahead. Again, the school being the problem in that either not challenging or not keeping them up. Either way, same thing with the teacher going too fast and unapproachable really keeps their kid falling behind as well. Again, the learning disability, there were several instances there where they thought their kid had ADHD or dyslexia, whether that came through or not with a prognosis. A lot of parents were kind of thinking about that as well as a source for that. And then other things like self-esteem. So as their self-esteem diminished, that raised anxiety and really kind of pushed them back. So it doesn't, thinking about things like self-esteem and anxiety can be an outside force and kind of compounding that problem as well. And another way that I can kind of point the blame towards something else. Okay, so that was kind of the education example to give you one of those. The second one is is one where we're talking about healthy foods. So this was for a coach that helped out moms in feeding their kids healthier foods, really through a plant-based diet and kind of removing a lot of that sugar. So, the common force here, the outside force here was really the food industry. And I saw really grocery stores, things like that as the kind of rise of nutritionally devoid foods, as you see it here at the top here, has led to obesity and things like that. Another one would be something like peer pressure. So, with that, the emphasis on snacking and junk food, another outside force that I could lead into. Um, another thing like fast food, the fact that you go to fast food and they give you these huge soda drinks, that's working against you as well. If we go down a little bit further, food companies, again, nutritional labels aren't being transparent. They're adding in all these added sugars. Everything is kind of working against me, so it makes it impossible for me to feed my kid healthy foods. Going to the grocery store, looking how they set up their store and how it's set up, so when you immediately come into the store or where the majority of the store is, it's kind of filled with those sugary type of foods, so that when you do go with your kids, you're kind of set up to fail. Another thing would be blaming the government in terms of not keeping up regulations as well. Just the prevalence of processed food. So you really get the idea here. There's several different angles that I could go with in terms of pointing the blame towards that, where they're really the environment is really working against them more than anything else and making it almost impossible that they can feed their kids healthy foods. And the last one I kind of wanted to show you, this was a weight loss accountability coach. Again, what are some of those common enemies as some of these moms or females kind of think about their weight? What are those common enemies that we can think about there? And really, the one that kind of came through traditionally was kind of the parent or the role as their mom, kind of making them feel bad about their weight as they kind of grew up. So there's kind of several stories here, and just trying to get a sense for, okay, what's kind of the feelings in their head, how are they feeling about that as they get older. One of the other things is just outside of them is things like I have to work really hard at my weight, things like metabolism, all those different things are kind of outside forces, kind of common enemies that I can think about as well to kind of point to saying it's not your fault. You have all these things working against you, and that's the reason you're not getting the results that you're looking for. So in your marketing, kind of think about with your specific audience, how can you take away the blame and kind of point the finger at somebody else. In doing that, you're really going to free up your audience to start taking action, look at your solution a little bit differently, and kind of get out of that paralysis of self-blame as they go forward. So hope that's really helpful in kind of going through this example, and take care.